we'll go to our panel. Kerry-Ann, you have the floor.
We have the joy of having you after lunch. I wouldn't let all of you stretch first, but I won't punish you that way. We have a very interesting topic, so we're going to try and go through the presentations as quick as we can so we could open the floor up for questions. We're going to be discussing multi-stakeholder in cybersecurity. As many of you are aware, this is a topic that's very relevant for us, especially most of you would have seen the presentation on Monday about the IANA transition. The multi-stakeholder approach, as many of you would understand the definition, it's the bottom-up approach. It's the approach where we engage all stakeholders as a part of the internet governance, as a part of cybersecurity, as a part of securing our infrastructure as best as we can. So the idea of this panel is that we have persons from various backgrounds and they'll be sharing their experiences on the multi-stakeholder approach at various levels of their work. I'll do quick introductions for each. We have with us Mr. Eduardo Santoyo. From 2000 to 2007, Eduardo worked as the manager for Peruvian country-level top-level domain name, .pe, at the Peruvian Scientific Network. He was involved in the creation and implementation of the TLD and its policy. He has also worked as a consultant. Mr. Santoyo brings to us, though, his experiences from ICANN. He's been in attendance in ICANN meetings since 2000. He's a founding member of the CCNSO and a part of ALAC. He became a founding member of the CCNSO when he started working with Peruvian TLD. Staying informed of the developments, he's also a representative of the .co Internet representative to the IANA. We have with us as well Mr. Iván Sánchez Medina, who's a project manager at the Ufinet, Colombia. He's an electronic and telecommunications engineer, has a master's degree in telematics from the University of Calco, and is a candidate to PhD in Hispanic Studies at the University of Kentucky. He also has 20 years of experience in administration, operation, regulation, and negotiation of communication networks. Rodrigo de la Parra is with us. He is based in Mexico City as the Regional Vice President for ICANN. He travels through the region and he's responsible for outreach, support, engagement with user groups, governments, private sector, civil society, in essence, multi-stakeholders. His role is to work closely with Latin America technical community, and he's to build a robust internet infrastructure in the region. Thanks, Rodrigo. We also have with us Mr. Tracy Hackshaw. Tracy has been in the technical community on multiple issues in ICANN as a representative from the Caribbean. He is now on the Trinidad and Tobago Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Group. He has over 20 years, we have this common theme, over 20 years of experience. He has over 20 years of experience in the public and private sector, working both locally in Trinidad and Tobago and internationally. His portfolio has been that he participates a lot in the local government process for internet governance, and he also sits on the United Nations Internet Governance Forum. He also is a lecturer at Diplo Foundation. Based on our timing, we're going to ask Rodrigo to just kick off with his intervention, and then each of the panelists will then make a 7-minute presentation on what their views are on the topic, and then I'll pose some questions to them and then open the floor. Rodrigo, please.
Muchas gracias, Kerry-Ann. Muy buenas tardes a todos. Es un honor estar aquí y desde luego compartir.
Thank you, Marianne, and it's great to be here and to share this panel with great professionals, and we all know each other very well. I would like to excuse myself because I will have to leave. I won't be able to finish with the panel because I have to take a flight, and so I'm going to stay as long as possible. That's why I asked to be the first one on the panel. The challenge we have here on this panel is not only to speak about the model for the multiple stakeholders, but to try to see how this model can be implemented to cybersecurity issues. Personally, I will try to talk about the experience that ICANN has, and also will try to speak about the multi-stakeholder subject. We all know when we talk about multi-stakeholders, although it's in English, we all know what it means. There have been some translation into Spanish, and perhaps they're not so perfect. And this is to be able to explain the multi-stakeholders. But if we try to understand these concepts, we understand that there are some lessons that will allow us to understand the word or the term. Nowadays, we do not discuss if Internet governance has to be done through this model. That is to say, it's been accepted. It's been accepted by all of the interested parties, then that everyone should participate in under the same circumstances, making decisions on all issues of Internet governance, and this includes the cybersecurity. I believe that beyond considering it as an obligation or a principle that is included in declarations or global summits, as has been mentioned, the one of this Information Society where Bruno Ramos and ILO told us that, or the ITU told us that it was an issue of much debate at the summit, and it's not something that it has been imposed on us, but it's rather an opportunity. To be a multi-stakeholder, it's beneficial. Even in some cases, it is needed. It is indispensable. So it's not that the issues of Internet can be resolved as an obligation, but as something positive. The other key part of the model is in defining the multi-stakeholders. For instance, the part that says multi means that it has to be more than one, ideally a lot of them, and even better, all of them. But who is all of them? All of us, all of those who are interested. It's not that the issue becomes interesting, but you as an actor is interested in the issue, whatever the governance is. Now, the Internet governance, there are some issues where there are participants that don't have a clear interest, that they are just they are stakeholders, but if they have no stake on the issue, they shouldn't participate of that one. But the definition should be as broad as possible. So if you think about what has been discussed this week, and if you make a map of words, you would find that this concept was repeated many times. But you have heard it under different concepts and different connotations, and here's where we're going to it's worth making the differences. We have heard it under the concept of ICANN, or also IGF and the regional GFs, and also mechanisms and multi-sectoral dialogues at national levels. Although everyone has this common denominator of being sectorial, multi-sectorial, there are also some important differences. Perhaps one of the elements that could be differentiated, the different models of sectorial, is the results or the product of each one. IGF has a very clear mandate to be a platform and for discussion, and it was mentioned here, a process. It is not a matter of producing concrete results. There's no declaration, there's no resolution, there's no policy. It's a dialogue that pushes for those different stakeholders can discuss and participate on some results. There are other national models for sectorial meetings or discussion where they have a mandate of generating a concrete product, or maybe it's a policy declaration or a technical forum or other regional governance, Internet governance forums, such as the case of the Caribbean, that the I-Chief in the Caribbean is the first head in e-commerce in the world, and they discuss a framework document on Internet governance to be implemented in the Caribbean, and they discuss it and and they do have results. And on the other hand, we have ICANN. We have ICANN, which I'm going to talk about. ICANN which is different from these other concepts, does have two characteristics or three characteristics that are very important, three features that make it different or unique. And one of them is that ICANN has an obligation, operational obligation. They have an operational mandate, and ICANN is in charge of administering certain critical resources for the internet, such as the median names and IPs, and they have contracts with the registrants, and we heard about them yesterday. And by establishing a contract, they also are legally they have to do it. They have an obligation of keeping track of all of this, and in numbers, they have the obligation of administering addresses and IPv6 and give it to regional administrators or registrars, actually. And as the second important part, this is a forum to generate policies. That is, of an ICANN meeting, we expect to have results, but results that have the characteristics of a multi-sectoral model, and as Kerry-Ann said, that they should come from the bottom up. This is an ingredient that doesn't necessarily exist in some bodies, international bodies or other organizations that could laugh about this being multi-sectorial, but perhaps they are, but they don't have decisions from the bottom up. This is what makes ICANN unique. All of the policy decisions come from the community. It's discussed among the different interest groups and finally arrives to the board, which is made up by the members of the different interest groups and other experts of the internet, which at the end of the day make the decision